It's been over a year since we could mod this OLED console. There have been numerous installation methods and development since then. This video will show you an updated way to install a mod kit on this motherboard. Let's get started. Get a microSD card. Some cards brand has incompatibility issue with the mod chip. In this video, I'm using a Samsung Evo Plus microSD card. This card is fast, reliable, and about 99.99% works without issue. For the software, I always use my head spec. Get to the GitHub page, select releases, and download the latest version. Open the microSD card on your computer. Use a card reader if needed. Then extract the head spec into it. In this video, I'm using a brand new console. It doesn't matter if you have been using it for a while, as it is irrelevant to this guide. Insert the microSD card into the console. Turn the console on and follow the initial setup if your console is brand new. And update the console if the recent firmware is hackable. And then turn the console off. Before working with the tablet, I usually install a tempered glass screen protector to protect the original screen from getting scratched while dismantling it. Wet the screen with IPA and wipe the liquid spots with dry wipes. Ensure everything is clean on the surface. No dust, no whisker, no speckles, etc. Get the tempered glass and remove the backliner. Align and center the glass immediately to avoid something trapped between the planes. Press the glass anywhere to stick the glass to the console screen. Remove the bubbles or unattached section by spreading the force evenly. Voila! Now you're good to go. Remove the Joy-Cons and flip the tablet. Remove the microSD card. Get a Y00 screwdriver and remove both screws on the corners of the tablet. And use the Phillips 00 screwdriver to remove the rest of the screws. Get a plastic spudger, slide it into the middle of the back case and pry it open. Lift the kickstand and use it as a handle to remove the back cover carefully. Continue removing the screws. Use a tweezer to move the network cable and remove a screw under it. And then use the plastic spudger to unlatch the network cable headers. Release the network cable from the tiny hook inside the pit, then lift the metal shield. Before processing the motherboard, I usually clean the existing thermal paste on the metal shield using a plastic opener tool and wipe it clean using a brush, wipes, and a PCB cleaner. Disconnect the battery. Remove the tiny sticker on the game cardboard, then remove the screw under it. Detach the game card PCB from the main board. Now remove the heatsink screws. And then remove the heatsink entirely. And again, I usually clean the heatsink from the existing thermal paste before altering the mainboard. I wet the surface with IPA and wipe it using a paper towel. Clean the CPU cover from the existing thermal paste. And now remove the rest of the screws. Disconnect the fan header and detach the fan. Disconnect the rest of the flex ribbon cables. Use a blunt tweezer to disconnect the left speaker header. Lift the tablet edge cover a bit along with lifting the motherboard. Now get a scalpel or a plastic opener tool to disconnect the OLED screen flex ribbon cable. And finally, use your finger to disconnect the right speaker header. Get a PCB holder and place the motherboard on it. Then get a sharp tweezer to remove the eMMC chip cover. To install the DIODE adapter freely, we need to remove the outer edge of the eMMC chip metal frame. Get a cutting plier and cut both corners of the frame. And use your finger to wiggle the cut edge until it is removed from the board. Ensure not to damage the ground pads as we need them to lock the DIODE adapter permanently. I'm using the yellow 4-anchors DIODE adapter. For me, it is the best, but currently it has some things that could be improved. This little earlobe on the top left of the adapter could block the adapter from going deeper inside the eMMC chip, and this lag edge is too close to the round solder pad, which could cause signal short even it is not soldered. To solve the first issue, we need to cut this earlobe. One down, one to go. We need to cut this line to solve the second issue, but since both tracks are very close, we can cut them as they are unused. Wet the surface with a tiny drop of flux. Get a mini grinder and cut both signal tracks. Don't worry, they are unused and won't harm the console. Remove the debris with wipes and IPA. Get the DIODE adapter and insert it under the eMMC chip. I no longer reflow the DIODE connection because statistically and on average, it only lasts 3 months. Different solder tin materials and compositions and the internal heat from the console caused cracks in the eMMC balls. And the only way to fix the issue is to remove the eMMC chip and sandwich a DIODE wire under it. That's my theory. But if you think reflowing the DIODE adapter is the best for you, keep doing it because different people have different methods and results. Let's go back to the reflowless or the heatless DIODE installation method. Align the DIODE adapter markings with the eMMC chip edges and push the DIODE adapter with a plastic spudger. Use a sharp tweezer and spudger to move the DIODE adapter and ensure it is snug sideways. Before locking the anchor, please check the DIODE point diode value. You should get a reading between 0.500 volts to 0.800 volts. Add a drop of flux to the right leg. Get a tweezer, push the DIODE adapter deeper to generate a little tension, and solder the DIODE adapter to lock it down. Now solder the DIODE adapter's left leg. If unsatisfied with the solder quality, please add some more flux and beautify it. Please solder the top right pad to strengthen the DIODE adapter from moving. Add a blob of solder to the DIODE point. Get a 5 cm 36 gauge Teflon wire and solder it to the DIODE point. Clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Move the wire to the corner of the eMMC chip and reinstall the metal cover. Rotate the PCB, add a drop of flux to the B point and solder it. Get a 3 cm wire and solder it to the B point. Again, clean the area with IPA or a PCB cleaner. Next, flip the board and remove the CPU cover. Use a straight pin to unlatch these mini locks. And then use a tweezer to remove the CPU cover carefully. Do not lay the tweezer to any components below it, or you will break it. As usual, clean the existing thermal paste of the CPU cover with the help of the plastic opener tool and wipe it clean with IPA or PCB cleaner. Get a bent nose plier and flip the mini locks inward for the cableway. Get a plastic spudger to pick and clean the thermal paste debris on the top of the CPU and wipe it clean with IPA or PCB cleaner. Now, cut one edge of the CPU frame from coast to coast to reveal the D or the CLK point. Clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Add a tiny drop of flux to the D point. Begin exposing the track with the mini grinder. Please do it carefully and lightly to avoid damaging the signal track. Wipe and clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Add a tiny drop of flux to the D point. Thin the track with a good solder wire. Get a 3 cm Teflon wire and expose the conductor in one end. And use a scalpel to cut the hanging jacket from the wire. Now pass the wire through an opening right below the mini lock. Bend the wire a bit and solder it to the D point. Add a drop of flux and thin the A point a bit. Wipe and clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Get a 2 cm Teflon wire and solder it to the A point. Do not overheating the A point, or you will damage the tiny resistor. Rotate the board and let's focus on the big capacitor to install the 3.3 volts line. Add a tiny drop of flux to the left side of the capacitor. And thin that point a bit. Get a 4 cm Teflon wire and solder it to the capacitor. Wipe and clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Get the CPU flex ribbon cable and thin the pads. Wipe and clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Get the CPU flex ribbon cable and align the holes with the capacitors on the CPU. Add some flux to the solder points. Then solder those points. Use a tweezer to flatten the flex ribbon cable towards the CPU. Wipe and clean the area with IPA or PCB cleaner. Protect the solder pads with a layer of Kapton tape. Apply a drop of thermal paste to the center of the CPU and reinstall the CPU cover. I'm using the latest variant of the OLED mod kit. As I previously said, the V number doesn't matter at all. You can follow this video guide as long as you got the same physical form of the mod kit. Apply a double-sided tape to the back of the mod kit. and remove the release liner. Place the mod kit on the top of the CPU cover. Before sticking the mod kit, connect the flex CPU cable header into the mod kit using a tweezer. I'm back installing the kit using fly wires in this updated video, because the FPCB kit has a fatal flaw that could prevent the console from booting the stock firmware and the sysMMC. I know they have updated the FPCB kit design, but it is a no-no for me. As usual, add some flux to the solder pads. And tin those pads. Before soldering the wires, please observe the signal name order, because I know that one variant of the mod kit reversed it. First, let's solder the D-point wire. Next, we solder the A-point wire. And then solder the C-point wire. Then solder the 3.3 volts point wire. Now rotate the board. And then solder the B-point wire. The next one is optional, but recently I installed a magnetic reed switch to every mod kit installation job. I did that because at some point, the mod kit needs a reset, especially when it doesn't work correctly. Since not everyone can disassemble the console to access the chip reset points, this beautiful device can help solve the issue. I will show you how it works later. In this video, I'm using the GPS11A normally open reed switch. The best location to install this switch is near the mod kit USB port. Slide the reed switch like in the video. But please don't let the reed switch pull under the B-point wire. Move the rod on top of it if it sits under the wire. Use a tweezer to bend the rod to the bottom part of the mod kit's reset pads. Cut the access length using a cutting plier, then flatten the rod. And then solder it. Now move to the opposite rod. Add some flux to the USB port hook and solder the rod into it. So in the end, it will look like this. Now let's check its solder point diode value before placing the motherboard back in the chassis. Here is how the mod kit installation looks like. Now place the motherboard back into the chassis. Please reverse what we have done earlier. Stick a layer of Kapton tape to cover the mod kit. Connect the battery. To test the reed switch, prepare a relatively strong magnet. Place a magnet near the read switch, then press the power button. The modkit LED will turn white, then static blue. Now flip the tablet, and you should see the company logo. If you don't see anything, re-inspect the modkit installation points and check what you have altered previously. Connect the Joy-Cons, ensure both are detected, and you see the handshaking animation and sound effects on the tablet. Now turn off the console. Remove the Joy-Cons. The modkit will begin training precisely 15 seconds after you turn it off from the resetting modkit procedure. Let the training session run for some time. On average, it will last about 5 minutes or less. During the training session, the yellow LED should pulse in constantly, which means sometimes you can see it is breathing fast. If you ever see an intermittent red LED during the training session, there is something wrong with the eMMC chip. Maybe the ball cracked or the eMMC chip is damaged. The only solution is to try reballing the eMMC chip. But if you see a white LED, I'm sure there is a loose connection on points A, B or D. If you see the pulse that ends in static red, then most of the time the dead zero is losing its connection. But if you see an immediate red, we can guess the CPU flex ribbon header is not connected correctly. And in the end, you will see the LED pulsing magenta and ends in green. Repress the power button until the LED turns green. Flip the tablet and you should see the No SD screen. Press and hold the power button for about 3 seconds to turn it off. Apply a drop of thermal paste to the top of the heatsink. Then continue to reassemble the console. Insert the microSD card into the console. Install the Joy-Cons. And turn on the console. And you will reach Hecate. You can ignore the date and time settings, then turn it off. In this section, I will show you how to reset the chip if it is not working correctly. Get a magnet and place it on the right of the USB port. Flip the console and turn it on. And now turn it off. Please press the power button to start the modkit training session immediately after the console is turned off from the resetting modkit procedure. Now repress the power button. You don't need to reset the chip if the console works fine. Please don't do it every time you turn on the console. You can try resetting the mod kit if it is not working correctly or you want to debug the console. In the end, congratulations, you have hacked the console. Please follow my guide about setting up the console from scratch from this step. I hope you learned something new from this guide. Thanks for watching and see you in another video.